You've probably seen this picture before, right? This absolutely breathtaking structure carved right into the side of the Acropolis in Athens. It's the Odeon of Herodes Atticus, and for almost 2,000 years, it's been a symbol of art and culture. Now, on the surface, it seems like one of history's great romantic gestures, but behind that beautiful marble facade is a wild story of ambition, resentment, and a man who might have been building a monument not just to his wife, but to himself.
So let's just get right into it because that's the real puzzle we're exploring today. How could a guy who was so disliked by his own people in Athens create one of their most beloved landmarks? Well, the answer pulls back the curtain on a fascinating game of power, branding, and public relations all played out on the grand stage of the Roman Empire.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the stage itself. Then we'll explore the incredible architecture of the Odeon. We'll definitely meet the man who built it, and then we'll get into his very complicated legacy and follow the building's journey from ancient ruin all the way to a modern icon. Okay, first things first, let's set the scene. The Odeon isn't just plopped down anywhere. It is perfectly positioned on the southwestern slope of the Acropolis, this sacred heart of ancient Athens. I mean, this was prime real estate, right next to other huge landmarks. Just its location alone makes a massive statement. But it's the building itself that is just wow. This was not just another theater. See, an Odeon was a purpose-built concert hall, and this was the absolute peak of Roman-era design and luxury. And the scale of this thing is just astounding. Built back in the 2nd century, it was designed to hold up to 5,500 people. And that stage wall you see, it towered a staggering 28 meters high. We're talking about a colossal undertaking, clearly meant to blow people's minds. And this is where you really see the incredible sophistication. It was built with the best Pentelic marble. Yep, the same kind they used for the Parthenon. Its acoustics were fine-tuned for music, not just for plays. But the real engineering marvel, the thing that everyone talked about, was its roof. Ancient writers raved about this massive, unsupported roof made of cedar wood that spanned the entire building, an unbelievable and unbelievably expensive feat of engineering. So the big question is, who on earth had the kind of money and motive to build something like this? Well, that brings us to the man of the hour, Herodes Atticus. Herodes was, and this is no exaggeration, one of the wealthiest men in the entire Roman Empire. He was a Greek intellectual who was also a high-ranking Roman senator, a true bicultural powerhouse. And he was famous for his philanthropy, for funding these huge public projects that, on the surface, were all for the good of the people. And the official story for the Odeon is a beautiful one. It was a memorial, a grand tribute to his beloved wife, Regilla. She came from a powerful Roman family with connections all the way up to the emperor. So a monument born from love and grief. But that's not the whole story. Not even close. And this is where the story takes a turn. Was Herodes really just a grieving husband and a generous public benefactor? Or was he a master brand builder, using his incredible wealth for his own personal gain? Okay, listen to this. This is from an ancient writer named Philostratus, and it's absolutely jaw-dropping. He says that despite all of Herodes' grand gifts, the people of Athens hated him. Why? Well, they believed he had cheated them out of their inheritance from his father's will, and decided to spend that money on these giant projects that, what a coincidence, glorified his own name. This brings us to a really fascinating idea that scholars call imperial mimicry. The thinking is that Herodes wasn't just being generous, he was strategically copying the behavior of emperors, especially Emperor Hadrian. See, Hadrian used buildings to make himself seem like a godlike founder of a new Athens. Herodes, a private citizen, started using the exact same playbook to elevate his own status to an imperial level. And here is the smoking gun. This is a reconstruction of a huge fountain house Herodes built at Olympia. And look at the statues he put in there. He placed sculptures of his own family members right next to statues of the emperor and the imperial family. The message was so audacious and so clear. My family is on the same level as the emperors. It was all part of this very careful strategy. First, he married Regilla, which gave him imperial connections. Then, when she and other family members died, he turned his private grief into a massive public relations campaign, building monuments in their name. He even tried to turn his own foster children into heroes and mythic figures, copying the exact moves Emperor Hadrian made with his own deceased lover. So, at the end of the day, the people closest to him, his wife, his foster kids, they basically became tools in his quest for status. Their identities, their cultures, even their tragic deaths were all just opportunities for him to project this image of himself as a man of immense power, a man who operated on the same level as an emperor. So Herodotus eventually died, and his complicated legacy was left to history. But what about the building itself? Its story was far from over. For about a century, the Odeon was a thriving cultural hub in Athens. But then, in 267 CE, invaders sacked the city and left the building in ruins. And for over 1,500 years, it just lay there, buried and forgotten. It wasn't until the 1850s that it was finally dug out, and a century after that, in the 1950s, it was beautifully restored and given a whole new life. And today, it can seat almost 5,000 people and is home to the world-renowned Athens Festival, hosting legendary performers under the stars. Whatever his motives were, the Odeon has become this enduring and truly beloved symbol of the very city he so desperately wanted to impress.
And that leaves us with one last big thought. The story of Herodes Atticus proves that even the most beautiful creations can have some pretty complex, maybe even cynical origins. It really makes you ask, can we, or maybe even should we, separate a masterpiece from the complicated ambitions of the person who created it?